Hi, I'm Susanna, and one thing about me is that I like to dress up according to how I feel that day. So, story time. I kinda did a personal experiment, you might say, whenever I ride angkas. I observe how the drivers treat me based on how I present myself that day. And most times, when I wear this, they always have something to say. It may be about my weight, my plans, or something about their day. But when I wear this, most of the time, they don't even talk at all. And I'm not saying talking to the driver is a bad thing, but it definitely is an interesting observation. So, why does this happen? Why am I treated differently depending on how I look? Aren't I the same person? The same woman? These are just some of the many questions feminism tries to ask. So, let's talk about it. To try to understand feminism, we must go back in time to see how it all started. Let's start with the first wave of feminism. The first wave of feminism started around the late 19th century and early 20th century. So, let's set the scene. During this era, women wore these long dresses and the world was adjusting to new, different ideologies. Some women were gaining access to education, specifically white Western women who were upper class. Writers like Louisa May Alcott and the Bronte sisters are examples of authors who wrote about fictional female characters as autonomous, self-reliant, educated women. They, among many others, assessed what women are capable of and what rights they can have. Louisa May Alcott herself joined the suffrage movement. Women organized movements aimed at demanding economic rights, the right to vote, and rights to property, just to name a few. It's important to note, though, that feminist ideas started a long time ago. We don't want to oversimplify its history, but seeing feminism in waves helps us to outline how we can trace and understand it. Little Women was a book published in 1868 and tells the story of four sisters and their complex feelings and thoughts about topics on art, love, literature, marriage, and relationships. Characters like Jo March from Little Women grappled with ideas of what it means to be free. Her stance on marriage is multifaceted. Her character, flawed and angry at times, but she was written with depth and sensitivity. Little Women has stayed and prevailed in the conscious minds of popular culture, with at least 6 movie adaptations of it, and one, most recently, was made only in 2019, which was Greta Gerwig's adaptation. To summarize, the first wave of feminists fought for the recognition of women's rights and the distinction that they are not property, while fighting for the right to vote and their economic rights. But not all women were able to actually vote. Black women and other women of color faced challenges to have this right, and were only granted access to vote in 1965, during the Voting Rights Act. So now, let's move on to the second wave of feminism. Just coming off from World War II, men were away from their homes to their countries, and war efforts demanded materials. So who went and did manufacturing jobs? Women. This increased women's earning potential. But when the war was over, what happened? After it, women were no longer encouraged to work, and there were even policies that replaced women workers with men. From the relief of the end of the war, birth rates increased exponentially, aka the birth of the term baby boomers. During the 1950s, TVs became a staple in homes. Women were gaining more and more access to education and even finishing college. But socially and in the media zeitgeist, working women weren't treated as seriously and still were presented with domestic roles. From advertisements,
Know that American women often have the deciding voice in whatever we come to buy.
to movies, to books, women were depicted as feminine, stay-at-home moms who enjoyed domestic chores. According to Ruth Schwartz Cohen in her book, More Work for Mother, she pointed out that writers, psychologists, and psychiatrists of the time criticized women who wanted to pursue a career, referring to them as lost, suffering from penis envy, or man-hating. A great movie adaptation from Ira Levin's Stepford Wives explored this complicated position of women during this era. This 1975 adaptation is a horror satire that takes place in the idyllic community of Stepford, where all women have the same tastes, opinions, and manner of speech, except of course for the other new arrivals. The creepy social situations Joanna finds herself in expose the town as an engineered mechanism, turning real women into robots who are fully compliant, perfectly beautiful, and shallow. This movie became a social artifact during its time and became a barometer of how people reacted to the women's liberation movement. And men redefined how gender roles affected women personally, imagining the patriarchy to the extreme in such a small-scale, quaint suburban village way. These critiques pushed for open conversations about the confinement of women to roles of being wives and mothers, the discrimination women constantly face in the workplace, and reproductive rights. Let's move on to the 90s, which I hope most of you are already familiar with. This time around, women were accepting their rebellious side and were recognizing their anger. Lindley Hanlon popularly coined the term female rage in her examination of the violent process women go through in trying to define themselves, divorced from the glossy, picture-perfect image the media has been putting out of women. The type of media I want to focus on during this era is the rise of the punk scene culture of Riot Girl, with songs that focus on expressing raw, unfiltered emotions. One song that stood out to me when I started listening to punk music back in 2022 was 7YB's song MIA. Taken from their album Viva Zapata, this song was a tribute to the death of their dear friend Mia Zapata, the lead singer of the Gits. On July 7, 1993, Zapata was raped and murdered. The album was released 1 year after her murder. The song's title tells a double meaning for the 3 letters of Mia's name and an acronym for Missing in Action, since she was only 27 years old when she passed. The song is an exploration of how society systematically fails to protect and seek justice for women. The band does not shy away from examining and expressing the violence that female bodies go through, which was especially shown in their other song, Dead Men Don't Wait. During this era, feminism challenged to see that problems of feminism are something inherently connected to race and gender, and the intersections of identities. Scholar Kimberly Crenshaw coined the term intersectionality to explain the experiences of African American women. That term now encompasses explaining the oppression of people based on the intersections of their identities, such as race, class, ability, gender, sexual orientation, and religion. These concepts are further explored during the fourth wave. With the rise of the internet and the capacity of communication now at an all-time high, women are able to access education more and are able to contribute to conversations directly via social media platforms. The Me Too movement took off in 2017 in exposing Harvey Weinstein's sexual misconduct and has sparked discussions on power imbalances at home, in the workplace, and in courts. These movements do not occur in a vacuum, and now that information can be widely accessed, people have more space to explore these issues. Right now, I also attribute my knowledge of feminism to the rise of the internet. I wouldn't have been able to have access to all the movies, books, and information if I hadn't picked them up somewhere online. Exposure to creators who have different identities is easier to access. The punk band scene is still pretty much alive with groups like Petrol Girls and Big Joni. Games have also been exploring feminist themes. One of my current favorite games, Bloom and Rage, aims to challenge the gaming industry zeitgeist by creating a plus-size main character and telling a story deeply embedded in punk and feminist culture. Books like Can We All Be Feminists, which I highly recommend, also try to uncover what it means to be a feminist when you don't conventionally look like one. What does it mean to be a feminist when you are Muslim, are plus-sized, are disabled, are transgender? These are all ongoing conversations that we continue to negotiate with. With Terence Real's book, How Can I Get Through to You, he explores the violence of boyhood, its connections with feminism, and how he tries to redefine what it means to be a man while embracing traits that are deemed feminine. These types of media give me hope amidst the overwhelming news of ongoing cases of discrimination and problems of misogyny and patriarchy. Well, we've finally reached the end. Thank you so much for sticking with me this far. You deserve a pat on the back. Goodbye!